Hey, welcome back guys. So this is my first official video of my Taranis Q X7 playlist. As always, look in the description below. I'll leave you a link to the playlist so you can follow along after this video. In this video, I really just want to spend the time getting you guys familiarized with the menus, the buttons. We'll go ahead and set up our main settings and options, and I'll kind of walk you through it and explain how everything works, as well as explain upcoming and future videos. If you are a new viewer and you don't already know, I do have the Taranis X9D playlist already up. I recorded that one a while back. These transmitters are 90% the same. So if you have already watched that video series, then and you are familiar with the X9D, you should be able to figure out the QX7. So this video series is really mainly for guys who have never used either one of the Taranis transmitters and you're just starting from scratch. But I will add to that, even if you do have the X9D and you go back and watch that video series, those videos are slightly outdated. Some things have changed since then, so these videos will be more up to date. The other benefit is, unlike with the X9D, how I already had everything set up and then I just went backwards and retaught everything, the QX7, I've actually owned this for a couple weeks now and it's just been sitting on my desk. I haven't touched it yet. So everything I do to this, I'll be showing you guys what I do in order. So that should help you out a little bit more. I'm talking everything. So I mean, I'm going to go over setting up the sticks, the custom splash screens and images.
Hey JC, welcome back.
Custom sounds, I mean, you name it. I'll even hydro dip this one in this video series. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so like I said in my review for this transmitter, I do highly recommend removing the 6 AA battery tray and placing in a rechargeable battery, because this will save you money in the long run. I believe any 2-cell battery will work. It just plugs in right there with a balance lead. Personally, what I'm using is the Strix 3200 mAh lithium ion battery from ReadyMadeRC, but you don't have to use this one. That's just what I'm using. I just had it laying around. I would imagine anything will work as long as it fits inside that compartment. On the bottom, we have the SD card slot in the middle. This does not come with an SD card, and if you ask me if you need one, I will say no, because I have created a couple models just to test it. This does have some memory on it, but I don't know how much memory it has. But if you do want to do all the cool, neat little things we're going to be doing throughout this video series, you will need an SD card. It doesn't have to be that big. The Taranis X9D does come with one, but it's only a 1 GB, and even the 1 GB was more than enough for everything we did with that one. Then on the right side we have the mini USB connector for connecting this to the computer, which we will do in upcoming videos. On the back side, this is where you can put in your different receiver modules to be able to use different brands of receivers, basically. I don't know why you'd want to do that, because FrSky receivers are my favorite receivers, so you got me on that one. But these pins right here, this will be used for upgrading the firmware of your receivers. For some of you in other countries, I would imagine if it's anything like the X9D, this comes with 2 different versions of firmware on the transmitter itself. There's basically like a EU version and then a non-EU version, or FCC, whatever you want to call it, and you have to have the version of the transmitter and receiver has to match for them to be able to bind to one another. And if you look at my X9D playlist, actually I'll just bring those videos over to this playlist so you don't have to search. Just look in the description and you'll find a video on how to do that. I'm not redoing it for this transmitter because the setup is going to be exactly the same. So if we press the middle button, it's going to power on. We see that this already has OpenTX on it, which is great. After that was the splash screen, and you saw my custom splash screen on my Taranis X9D, which is another thing we're going to be doing on this one. And here we have the warnings, and you can actually turn these warnings off if you so choose. I've actually turned mine off, that's why I only got one of them right now. We're just going to call this screen the main menu. On this main menu, you can press page, and this is going to change, but all these different pages are basically exactly the same. This is just something that I use to test my gimbals and switches to make sure everything is working. So if I'm flipping a switch and something isn't working, I can come here first and test it out. just to verify if it's the switch or if it's something that I messed up in beta flight or something like that. And another thing, with the X9D transmitter, all these come labeled with stickers, so you know the names of every switch. This one does not, but if you need to know the name of a switch, you can just come to this screen, flip some switches, and you'll see the arrows moving up and down, and that will tell you the name of it. But like I said, basically all these are the same. Now if we hold down the page button, this is going to be our telemetry screens. It's showing nothing right now because we have not set it up, but that will be an upcoming video, and you can actually have 4 different telemetry screens. If you hit the exit button, we go back to the main menu. This time hold down the menu button and we will come up with this, and you will see in the top right it says 1 of 9. That means that this is page 1 of 9 pages. And once we go into the model, like setting up our different models or multi-rotors, wherever it may be, you're going to see this again. So at this point, go ahead and set up your date and time if you want. You don't have to, it's not going to make a difference. You can set up your sounds, or the volume, I should say. We will be setting up custom sounds in an upcoming video. You can also change the way your screen looks with the contrast and all that, your battery alarm, inactivity alarm, and all that good stuff. So go ahead and set this up. One thing I will say is what I am using is mode 2, and mode 2 is what most guys use. Mode 2 means that throttle will be right here. If you want your throttle on this side, then that will be mode 1. There's also modes 3 and 4, so if you do want something different, just go through here and play with it, but just keep in mind, anytime I refer to pitch, that's going to be this. This is going to be roll, throttle, and yaw. And that is with mode 2. So if you do use a different mode, and I say pitch or throttle or anything else, it's going to be different for you. So keep that in mind. And that's it. So if we hit page, we will go to page 2 of 9. SD card, we're not seeing anything because we haven't got there yet. Global functions, this is something we will never mess with. This is your trainer. This shows you what version of firmware is on it. At the time of recording this, it's 2.2, which is the newest version of firmware, so I don't have to make a video on how to upgrade firmware just yet. That might be a future video. More switch testing. This will test your analogs, which will be your sticks, as well as these things. So you'll see it moving on the screen. If you ever feel like your sticks are not calibrated in the center, then you can come here and calibrate them. I'm not going to show you because it completely walks you through it. It's very easy. And we're back to the beginning. So now hit exit. Now if we hit the menu button, don't hold it down, just press it. This will be our model selection screen. And you can create up to 60 different models, which means 60 multi-rotors, or a combination of multi-rotors, airplanes, gliders, cars, boats, whatever you want. 60 of them. I'm going to do a separate video on how to create a model, and then we will go through the setup. From here on out, I'm just going to walk you through everything and explain what all the different pages do. So if we hit, well, we see we're on page 1 of 12. If we hit the page button, then we're on 2 of 12. On this page, this is where you will name your multi-rotor or whatever it may be. You can set up your timers, your pre-flight checks. This is going to be, remember, like when you turn it on, all those warnings that pop up. If you do want those off, then turn off throttle warning, and then this is going to be your switch warnings. So you just go through here and click this middle button to turn them off. This is how we will bind our receivers. Every receiver is different. I actually have, for you FrSky guys, just for you, I actually made a playlist just for the main receivers, which is going to be the X8R, the D4R2, X4RSB, XSR, and XM and XM Plus. So just look through all my different playlists, and you will find videos on everything you need to know about whichever receiver you have. If you have a different receiver than those 5, then I would probably recommend switching because those are the main ones used for multi-rotors. Unless you are an airplane, if you're an airplane guy and you're watching this video, or you have a RC car or something, then that doesn't apply to you. I'm not going into that right now. I'm just saying for multi-rotors, those are the main receivers. Hit page again. Us multi-rotor guys, because this is a multi-rotor YouTube channel, we will never ever mess with this page. We will also never mess with this page because us multi-rotor guys, we're using flight controllers, and through Betaflight or whatever configurator you were using, you can set up everything through that, and it's much faster, it's more accurate, and it just works better. So for that reason, we will never have to touch this page or the last one. We will mess with this page. This is how you will create your switches to do things like change between flight modes, arm it, turn on your buzzer. You can also set this up to send your RSSI value to your flight controller, and then that will send it to an on-screen display or something else, and much more. Mixer is actually tied in with the last page, inputs. These two pages work together. This will actually assign whatever you want it to do to an auxiliary channel to be sent to your receiver. Just a little tip, by the way, forgot to mention this. As we're hitting page and going through the pages, if you ever want to go backwards a page, just hold the page button down, and that's how you go backwards. Outputs, this is how we will calibrate our channel endpoints, which is something I do highly recommend doing for us multi-rotor guys. For everyone else, it's not a necessity, but for multi-rotors, I would say it is. We will never mess with curves because we can change our curves through Betaflight, so it's not needed. Logical switches is going to be for, you can set up different low voltage warnings, not just for this battery, but the battery of your multi-rotor. You can actually have 2 or maybe even 3 different ones. Or say you have a barometer and you want this to warn you after you go past a certain elevation or height, I should say. You can make it warn you for that. You can even do a custom sound, which we will talk about and do in a different video. Now this logical switches page actually works with the special functions page. They're kind of tied in with one another, much like inputs and that other page. This is going to be the telemetry page where you can get all of your telemetry from your receiver, also customize it a little bit, maybe, well, I'll just show you. And then the last page is going to be the display, which will be the telemetry screens that I said, well, I showed you in the beginning of the video. That's pretty much it. So there's your overview. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how to use this and navigate through the menus. Remember to look in the description for the next video as well as all the ones following after that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.